Yeah.
All right, and we are live with Vlogcast number 5, doing a little pre-show before we dive into the topics at hand. Cameron and I were talking about going to the movies, and I was like, wait, save it. Let's go live. Let's discuss it live. But what I was about to mention to you is if you go to matinees, particularly early matinees, don't buy popcorn. Buy another treat, because the matinee popcorn is what's left over from last night's main thing. So the popcorn they didn't sell last night at the theater, they just put in a trash bag, literally a trash bag.
Yeah.
And then the next day they dump it in, and that's your matinee popcorn. So
I'll raise you one better, Piz. Don't buy the popcorn, but certainly do not buy the hot dogs, because some of those have been there for days.
No. I there's places I don't buy hot dogs. Movie theaters, truck stops, convenience stores. Don't touch those. Don't touch those things.
Exactly. I actually managed a movie theater for 5 years, so I can attest to the fact that you are most certainly correct in a lot of times. If there's a large amount of popcorn from the night before, it is recycled the next day.
Mm-hmm. And I'm a matinee guy. I prefer going to matinees because fewer people are there, number one. I can usually skip out of work a little bit early and go check one out if it's like a 4:15, 4:20, 4:30 kind of movie.
Wait, you have matinees at 4:30 in the afternoon?
Yeah.
Our matinees out here in California stop at noon.
it goes in the summertime, they'll start at like 1 p.m. in the afternoon.
Okay.
Every other time of year, it's usually about 4 o'clock is when, 4:30 is usually that first matinee. But now what they've done, because so many people are doing matinees, not just my local Ma and Pa theater, but like I've noticed with Regal and what was the other one? I don't remember, but Regal, they've upped the prices of their matinees by like $2 or $3.
Right.
So it's like, damn it, I've got to pay more now for that stale popcorn, but I get to at least watch the movie without, that big of a crowd. But, I don't know. I always have the worst luck with movie theater audiences, even those, and I've not. The last few movies I've seen, matinees, I mean, knock on wood, they've been great. But it seems like, there for a while, they were just following me. Didn't matter if it was a matinee, didn't matter what, I was in the theater.
Be the only one. He can be the only one in the theater, and the next person that comes in sits right in front of you.
Yes. And they are the ones talking throughout the movie, answering texts, pulling their phone out to check the time, or they've got that buddy with them that they have to explain the whole plot to, because it's, they can't follow it themselves.
Right.
Screaming kids.
I remember in 1991 taking my mom and her friend to go see Cape Fear, the Scorsese remake, and they couldn't care less about the movie, but they were fascinated by the decor of the house. And so the entire time it was like, I wonder where she got that couch. It was the most annoying way to ever see that movie. But yeah, I usually sit, if I go to a movie theater, I usually sit about, like there's that first section in the front before there's the walkway from the screen. And so I'm usually in the 5th or 6th row so that people aren't in front of me texting. I hate that light. And for matinees, what I typically do is I'll hit the early bird special, which out here is about $6.25. I will wear a coat or a sweater, and then I will go see one movie, and then I will go see another movie, but in the bathroom I will take off the sweater. And so they don't recognize me going back and forth. And I'll hit 2 or 3 movies in one day, because these 16-year-olds working there are more concerned about getting their friends into the theater for free than worrying about if one person is going back and forth down the hallways.
Like I can't imagine, because the theater that I go to, a lot of my local one, it is entirely like the elder statesman there's 16. He's the manager. He's a day manager. He's 16. He's the, He's the senior employee at 16.
Mm-hmm.
So you know those kids don't care at all if somebody's coming in for free. If you did go to them and be like, hey, there's somebody in the theater, they're obnoxious, they're, you know what I mean, they're being very distracting, they're not going to do anything. You know what I mean? So
yeah, they barely go in there and fix the camera, or not the camera, the projector, if it's you know, you got a boom mic or something in the shot. You know, they won't even reframe.
Yeah. Oh my God. I went, when I went and saw Insidious Chapter 2, I saw it in an old crappy theater, me and 2 other people in there. No audio. And I'm watching I'm watching it thinking, is this intentional? Are they setting up some kind of big boo scare?
Right.
And then I'm thinking, okay, it's messed up. The audio's messed up. I'm going to have to go tell them. But then I kind of got fascinated because I started watching the other 2 people that were watching the movie. Mm-hmm. And we're probably 5 minutes into it, and clearly there's no audio. And I'm thinking, are they gonna say anything? But they just sit there eating their popcorn. And I swear to God, I became more fascinated with them than the movie. And I was just thinking, seriously, are you deaf? I mean, you don't.
So the trailers had sound, and then the movie clicked in and it didn't have sound, so it seemed intentional.
Exactly. So I finally go and I tell them, there's no audio. They go back, they restart the movie.
Wow, that's hard to do.
It goes for probably, there's about 10 seconds of audio, a click, and then no audio again. Mm. So I lean back in my chair. Again, I look at these 2 people watching the movie and I go, I'm just thinking nothing. They just don't care. They're just looking for a cool place on a hot afternoon. They don't care. So I go back out, tell the dude the audio is not working. Mm-hmm. He goes back in, he restarts the movie again. Wow. Finally it works. The 3rd time was a charm.
That's amazing, because that must be a digital theater, because if it's 35 millimeter, it's very hard to rewind film and start it over again, because 1, it's just a hassle, but 2, it would then go into the next showtime.
I'm pretty sure it was digital, because I think at this point, this was after that point where, if you wanted new movies, you had to have digital projection.
Right. Yeah, I worked in movie theaters when there were actual film on platters, and let me tell you something. When Titanic is about to fall off the platter, and you basically have to hold the platter for 3 straight hours and make sure that film stays on, it's a literal nightmare, because the last thing you want to deal with is about 500 12-year-old girls coming out wanting their money back because they can't see Leo. So
I remember, there was a very old theater in a neighboring town. They would always have some kind of issue. The frame would get knocked off center. So you'd either see everybody with no head, or you'd see the boom mic everywhere.
Right.
At one point, the film just stopped, and it started to melt and burn away, and it just went away. So like the manager came in and he goes, "That's the only one we got. Sorry, get your money back at the counter." Mm-hmm. I had one where that happened, and they had to reset it, and that took forever.
Yeah.
Forever. So.
Yeah, whenever we had a film break, we were really nice. We would go into the theater, and we were kind of a little indie theater, so we couldn't, obviously if someone wanted their money back, we gave it to them, but the whole point was to keep them there. So we would be like, okay, anybody who bought popcorn and drinks, free refills, let's go. Just keep them in their seats. Keep them happy.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I got scared at one point toward the beginning of the Purge election year. I thought it was a busload of kids coming in. I swear to God. It was just like...
It was the cast from Jeepers Creepers 2. They were coming in.
No, kids younger than that. Little kids. Like, wow. Just single file start coming in. And I'm going, what? Finding Dory's down that way.
Right, exactly.
And then here comes mom and dad in. They literally had 8 to 10 kids. I'm not kidding. Little kids walking in to watch the Purge election year. Now, thank God, I mean, I don't know if the kids, if they, not a peep, not a peep throughout the entire movie.
Wow.
So, but I was just thinking, like, holy, like literally, it was just single file. Here comes a bunch of kids. What is going on?
You know,
But,
it's weird because you tell me stories like that, and my natural instinct as an adult is to be like, what are they thinking? That is ridiculous. But then again, when I was a little kid, I was begging to go see Dream Warriors and Friday the 13th in the theaters, and my older sister would take me. And I mean, nowadays that would look like child abuse, but I mean, back then it was like a rite of passage. So
yeah, well, in my day, they never even asked. And if they did ask, you just go, yeah, I'm 17. Okay, go on. It was
right.
never, I mean, it was just like, if you've got money, go on in. And if they did ask, just tell them you're 17. It's not like they asked for ID or anything.
Some theaters in my area would just let you in, and that was great. Other times, I remember when I went to see Halloween 5 with a group of friends, they would not let us in. And so we actually found one guy that was going in there to buy all our tickets. And so he wasn't the drunk bum on the street like in South Park, but
I had I had the exact same experience, but with Halloween 6.
Okay.
We went to the theater, me and two buddies. We go to the theater, me and buddy number one, we pay our money. How old are you? 17. Go on in. Buddy number 3, God love him, but he wasn't the brightest bulb. Pays his money. How old are you? He whips out his ID. Knowing that his ID only shows that he's 16 years old. They turn him away. We're in line, getting ready to go watch Halloween 6. Where's Corey? Where's Corey? We look back. There he is, standing there with this dopey look on his face, like, So we go out. I'm like, give me your money, you dumbass. First person I see, I go, will you buy us a Halloween 6 ticket? He's like, sure, man. He walks up to the counter, and I see him pointing at us. He tells the box office girl, oh, I'm buying these tickets for those kids right there. What? What? So the manager came out and was like, you guys can't do that. You do that again, I will call the cops. So we left.
They wouldn't let you buy the ticket for your friends since you were quote unquote 17.
Well, see, that didn't even cross my mind. That didn't cross my mind. I was like so pissed because I was like, dude, you showed him your ID. You're 16. I mean, yeah. So I mean, we left. We had to leave. Like me, I'd bought the ticket. I was excited to watch Halloween 6 in the theater, and just didn't happen.
I remember when I went to go see Dream Child, it was myself and 2 friends, and my mom went to buy us the tickets, and they said, this was the same theater that played Halloween 5. So I guess it was the same year, 89. They told my mom, well, that's great that you're buying tickets for them, but you're going to have to be in there with them. And my mom was like, I was just going to drop them off and go do some errands. No, you have to go be with them. So my mom had to park the car and then come into the theater and sit through Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Child, just so that me and 2 of my friends could see it. And I have to give my mom mad props for that one.
Definitely, yeah.
Because that's like the worst Elm Street movie to sit through.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and let's get into the topic. Hello, welcome to Vlogcast number 5. I'm your old buddy Pizzal, and joining me again tonight is Cameron from the Obnoxious and Anonymous YouTube channel. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great. Vlogcast number 5. I can't believe we've done 5 of these now. They're fantastic.
I know, yeah. A lot of fun. Hope you guys out there had a great July 4th weekend. I hope you didn't blow off too many fingers.
Yeah.
How was your weekend, Cameron?
It was good. I'm kind of jealous of everyone out there because unlike California, fireworks are allowed other places, other states. There's many places in California you can't do them. My area in particular, you can do them in the Home Depot parking lot for some reason in a nearby town. But if you want to see any big fireworks, you have to go to certain designated areas and like just sit down and watch them. You're not allowed to set them off yourself. That's not the case when I was a kid. You could set off anything you wanted to in the driveway, but now California has so many laws. They basically made it impossible to enjoy anything but a sparkler. So
That sucks. But
yeah.
on the other hand, you guys out in California, you just got to go to your doctor's office and say, I got a headache. And they write you that script for medicinal marijuana.
Oh, did that pass? I don't know. I don't know if that passed or not, but no. But we got like 6 more gun laws on the book, so you know.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done.
Which is hilarious because any of those laws would not have stopped any of the tragedies that have happened. So I wish they would pass a law that would actually like stop something from happening.
You can't. Yeah, you can't outlaw crazy. Unfortunately, not yet. Not yet.
No. They haven't discovered our YouTube channels yet, so.
But they haven't discovered that miracle drug from Equilibrium that just, you know.
Yeah, or the one from Avatar. Was it unobtainium?
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, jeez. But yeah, we're going to talk about a couple of different topics tonight. This might be a fairly easy breezy, brief vlogcast for you guys. Before we get into the topics at hand, we do have a very brief bit of news for Halloween 2017. Seems like just before we do these vlogcasts, there's some little piece of news about either Halloween 2017 or Friday the 13th, 2017 that comes out. And before vlogcast number 5, we got a little bit of news about Halloween 2017. And the news is that Mike Flanagan will not be involved in the new Halloween. He was clearly the obvious choice. He was everyone's sort of usual suspect, considering his relationship with Blumhouse. And
so does this mean the director of The Guest and You're Next is going to get it, Wingard?
I don't know. His is the only other name aside from Flanagan's that I've heard being sort of tossed around. But I really liked Flanagan's response. It really made me like the guy even more and give him a lot more credibility, because he was asked about it in an interview, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically said, you know, I did my ode to Halloween with Hush. I don't think I can bring anything to the table for Halloween that's going to be anywhere on par with John Carpenter's original. I love that film so much. I just don't think there's anything that I can do, you know, to up the ante. And he actually made it sound like Halloween 2017 will be a remake of some sort. The way that he talked about it.
It kind of makes sense if they want to go back to the beginning. The name escapes me. Who directed It Follows?
Oh gosh, that's a good question, and that would be a very good.
I'm sure people are screaming at us right now. That would probably be the person that I would get to do it if you want to go back to the basics of what Halloween is, since It Follows is clearly, you know, a film that feels like a missing film in John Carpenter's filmography. You know,
David Robert Mitchell is the writer-director of It Follows.
I would be taking meetings with him right now and seeing what he would bring to it, because while it felt very John Carpenter-esque, it also didn't feel like a rip-off of Halloween necessarily. So he could come into it with fresh eyes and a new perspective rather than somebody who kind of already did an ode to Halloween, you know?
Yeah. I think that'd be a phenomenal idea. I would love that.
Yeah, and I mean, you got the indie cred. You also have the mainstream popularity because that film has its own steel book, unlike a lot of new independent horror films. And I think that would be a way of pleasing both you know, types of horror fans, the new and the old.
I totally agree. Everybody watching, if you want to, let us know. If you had your druthers, who would you select to direct Halloween 2017? Either tweet it at me at Pizzal or leave your choice in the comment section of the video. Who would you choose to direct Halloween 2017?
Now keep in mind, Blumhouse budgets are not that big, so I don't want to see any Martin Scorsese picks in the comment section.
Not That, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we're going to see Terrence Malick's Halloween 2017. Although that would be an amazing film.
You know what? You know what would be great. I wish Blumhouse would do this after they do their Carpenter film, whatever they do. I wish they would because I've been hearing about this, and it's time to just double down and let them do it. Let Daniel Farrens and of course I can't remember her name now. The girl from Halloween 4 and 5, Daniel Harris. Let them remake Halloween 6. They've been wanting to do that forever. Let them remake Halloween 6. Because Daniel Farrens keeps saying that his original script was totally fucked with, and Daniel Harris wants to come back as Jamie Lloyd. So do it. End the Thorn trilogy the way you wanted to do it. Because you could do it for $4 million.
That would be... Oh yeah, they could do it much cheaper than that. I mean, crap, they could do that for whatever Jason Blum's last car payment was. I'm sure. So I mean,
yeah.
Yeah,
but I'm tired of hearing about these theoretical projects. Just do it. Let's just do it.
I totally agree. Totally agree. So yeah, the reason why I wanted to do this vlogcast was to discuss two topics, and the first one being the Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman, which Cameron, I know you feel very strongly about. And actually, you encouraged me to want to go watch the extended version of the movie.
It's my fault. I'm sorry.
But I think my take on the theatrical version was just simply too much, total excess, a movie bursting at the seams, but at the same time is so muddy and muddled and is very, very messy. And I think I laid a lot of that blame, and I think a lot of people laid a lot of that blame at the feet of Zack Snyder.
How could you not?
And exactly. And after watching the Ultimate Edition, I lay all the blame for that at the feet of Warner Brothers.
They fucked up.
Yeah. There's an old saying that movies are made in the editing room. They're not made on the set. They're made in the editing room. And we've seen so many movies have multiple cuts, director's cuts, ultimate cuts, producers cuts. And it seems like a lot of the time those cuts are better versions of the film than what we saw in the theater. Mm-hmm. And that's not just, I don't just want to explore the Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman, but the idea of extended cuts, director's cuts, studio meddling, things like that. And, I'd heard a number of people say about Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, not just you, the extended cut, that it's like watching a different movie, that it now suddenly makes more sense. And I kind of thought, my God, it's already 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
how can they in 30 more minutes,
mm-hmm.
how can they make that make sense? And I think the nicest thing I can say about the Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman is that it did not feel like a 3-hour movie. The theatrical
it feels shorter than the theatrical cut.
Yes. The theatrical 2.5-hour version felt like 2.5 hours. The 3-hour extended cut did not feel like 3 hours. And I was really shocked. Yeah. I was really shocked at how basically Warner Brothers said the audience isn't going to care about clear storytelling. They're not going to care about motivation. They're not going to care about any kind of multi-layered storytelling. The only thing people want to see in Batman v Superman is Batman fighting Superman. That's it.
Do you remember before the movie came out, there was all this talk about how Warner Brothers was nervous about what the reception could be because they felt that the film could be quote unquote too intelligent for people, and it was too much depth, and it was too layered. And listen, I'm not saying that the ultimate cut is like Krzysztof Kieslowski or Terrence Malick movie, but you can clearly see what that film was supposed to be, and it is very layered. There's a lot of shit going on in that movie. There's a tremendous amount of subplots going on in that movie, as there was in the theatrical cut. But it's not just the fact that things were put back in. It's just that scenes have been rearranged to take place at different times. So there's more of a fluidity to it. I mean, I liken it to James Cameron's theatrical cut of The Abyss, or what they released of Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in America originally in the theaters. Just a completely cut down movie that made little to no sense. And then when you see the full version, you can like it, you can still dislike it, but it's impossible to say that this is not a better movie, because it just works better as a movie. I mean, God forbid, it actually works as a story now. Whether you like the story or don't like the story, to me, is irrelevant. It's like, well, it just, Warner Brothers saying, oh, well, we were so nervous about a 3-hour cut. And that's bullshit. Warner Brothers released a 3-hour version of all 3 Hobbit films. All right. And they made bank on those. So don't tell me that they couldn't release the 3-hour Batman vs Superman. Someone else will say, but this version is now R-rated. It's so not R-rated, even though it says R-rated. There's a couple F words and a couple CGI blood. You could have easily trimmed those out. It's totally fine. But the biggest thing for me is this: in the theatrical cut of Batman vs Superman, Superman is one of the biggest assholes I've ever seen in a motion picture. This ultimate cut, wow, I felt empathy for the guy. I mean, you completely understand his motivations now. And so if you cut out A and B and just give us C, we're going to think he's a jerk. But if we see why he's thinking this way, it's amazing what that can do for an ending. If you've seen the movie, you know what the ending is. And in the theatrical cut, the ending just came out of nowhere. It seemed tacked on. Like, why are people crying about this? Is ridiculous. In this new version, man, you really understand why a nation would grieve. Mm. And to me, that's just incredible that they can change a movie that much.
Yeah. Well, one thing I really liked this subplot of the woman who was just taking every opportunity to talk crap about Superman. Mm-hmm. And so Clark Kent goes to find the woman. And there's that whole subplot. And I thought that was a very good, like you said, it shows Superman as not being this just emo dummy. You know what I mean? Right. He's actually in the movie, he's more of a detective than Batman is. Yeah. And the thing that I want to stress is if you hated the theatrical version of Batman v Superman, you're probably going to hate this cut too. But if you're somebody like me who was just really kind of disappointed with the muddled mess that was the theatrical version, this cut really clarifies a lot of things. Superman has a lot more to do in the movie. Batman has a little bit more to do in the movie. Wonder Woman, still the only reason she's in the movie is to receive an email, which, I mean, where were the feminists who attacked the X-Men Apocalypse billboard? Wonder Woman is in this movie for one purpose, and that's to answer an email. Where were you to attack this movie? One
of my favorite things is that in the theatrical cut, there's this moment where they're at a party and Clark Kent's there and Bruce Wayne shows up and he's just kind of talking to him about like, how do you feel about the Batman and the vigilante justice? And all of a sudden Lex Luthor shows up and he's like, hey, Clark Kent, hey, Bruce Wayne. Oh, you don't want to pick a fight with this guy. Oh, and it's just so campy and cheesy. And then when you see it in the ultimate cut, you realize that Lex Luthor has personally invited Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent to this party because he knows who they are, and it just amuses him to fuck with Batman and Superman, right? Well, that right there changes the whole context of that scene. Also, at the end of the movie, when Lex is in a cell, it's revealed that his nervous tics and all this stuff was basically everything he was doing to create an insanity plea for when he got caught. That's kind of interesting. I don't know why Warner Brothers would take out the moment in the jail cell when Batman says, "I'm taking you to Arkham Asylum." It's only like 5 seconds long, but that would have made every fanboy in the audience go crazy, especially since Arkham Asylum is going to play a key role in Suicide Squad, for God's sakes. You know, it's like Warner Bros. Didn't know what the fuck they were doing with this movie, and it shows.
One of the biggest disservices that the theatrical cut did was to Lex Luthor. In the Ultimate Edition, Lex Luthor is actually a very cunning, super intelligent super villain. Now he's annoying. He's got those annoying tics, and
yes, he does. Yeah,
he's still annoying, but he's annoying with a purpose. He's not just this whiny crybaby. I've got daddy issues and I've got God issues, but I've got a God complex, so that doesn't make sense. But he's actually far more intelligent than Batman and Superman put together. The whole thing is just completely orchestrated by him, and that's totally sort of lost in the theatrical cut of the film.
Completely. I mean, yes, Jesse Eisenberg at times feels miscast. I would have loved to have seen the Bryan Cranston version of Lex Luthor. I think that would have been so much more powerful. But the bad parts of Batman v Superman are still in this cut. It's just that now that the movie is able to breathe a bit, the bad parts don't stand out as much as they did when they were condensed all together, right, one after the other. The other thing is when Batman brands the guy. In the theatrical cut, it seemed like Batman was complicit in these people going to prison and getting killed off. Now we find out Lex Luthor hires people to kill them off because that will set up Batman to look bad to Superman. See, you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, Lex Luthor is pulling the strings, being this puppet master, and it may be far-reaching, but I mean, come on, Piz. That Africa scene in the Ultimate Cut now sets the stage in a way where we fully understand what is happening, as opposed to the theatrical cut where we're scratching our heads going, did Superman really kill all those people? Like, we didn't even know.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. They did so much with that Africa sequence where they actually established Jimmy Olsen a little bit more. They showed what happened to in the theatrical cut, I don't even think they showed it was just like, there's dead people, so we didn't see them die, or we didn't see bodies. They just died somehow off screen. So Superman had to do it, right? But I mean, and like you said, did he or didn't he? You kind of don't know.
Right. And who is the brains at Warner Brothers who watches this movie and says, you know what we got to cut out? We got to cut out Superman blowing up a nuclear missile. We got to, let's cut out Batman swinging down from the rafters and grabbing Lex Luthor's henchmen and pulling them into the ceiling. Who cuts that stuff out? Apparently Warner Brothers does.
Yeah. Because 2.5 hours is as long as we'll do. 3 hours, no. 2.5 hours is, They totally undercut themselves and did a total disservice to that movie. Not that it's the greatest film ever, but it's so interesting. And I love going back and watching these kind of, like I love the assembly cut of Alien 3. I love Alien 3 anyway, because it's kind of the blacks, the black sheep. And I actually think it was a really ballsy move to make that movie as dark and as grim and as nihilistic as it is. But the assembly cut is a much better version. Like, why did that not go into theaters? Or, the director's cut of Nightbreed is a completely different movie than what we got in the theaters.
The Alien 3 assembly cut is fantastic. The only thing that bums me out was that 20th Century Fox had a release date for that Blu-ray set. And if they could, I know we were waiting forever for it anyway, but if they could have waited a few more months, David Fincher would have not been on post-production of the film that he was working on at the time. And he was almost willing to come back and reshape that movie into a director's cut. We ended up getting an assembly cut instead. But I would have loved to have seen what Fincher would have done with it.
I would love to just hear Fincher talk about it, because he refuses to talk about it publicly.
Yeah, but at least on the Blu-ray set, if you watch that Alien 3 documentary, they actually included 20 more minutes into that Blu-ray documentary than what was on the DVD documentary. And all of that had to do with David Fincher basically telling 20th Century Fox to go fuck themselves over and over and over again in that documentary. So if you have that Blu-ray set, make sure to watch that documentary because it's fantastic.
Yeah, he's very unhappy. He's very unhappy making that movie.
And you know what, though? Every one of us watched that Alien 3. I know you liked it, but we're just like, what? This is I guess I don't know. And who is this David Fincher guy? And then his next film is Seven, and you go, oh, yeah. This is who David Fincher is. Oh, if you leave this guy alone, look what he can do.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I kind of, there's still a lot of problems with Batman v Superman, even in the Ultimate Edition, but it is a better version of the movie and would have done far more to launch the DC universe, their whole, DC universe of movies, than what the theatrical version did, which really, I mean, the theatrical version, most people look at that and they go, this was a total false start. It
crashed and burned, and the word of mouth made it drop almost 70% the next weekend. I understand box office drops always the next weekend, but that movie okay, listen, Batman v Superman, guaranteed $1 billion, and it didn't even make it.
Yeah.
This 3-hour cut would have made it.
Yeah. I mean, just on name alone, I mean, that's one of those Terminator 2 type movies. That's one of those must-see movies, and we don't get those very much anymore. Even the big summer movies, the big blockbuster summer movies, they're not must-see movies. You know what I mean? This was an event movie, and they blew it because they wanted too much too soon. This should have been Man of Steel 2 with some tie-in at the end to Batman or Wonder Woman. Do your Wonder Woman movie, have a tie-in to your new Batman movie with Ben Affleck, and then hit us with the Avengers. But they didn't want to wait another 5 years. They wanted it all now, and they wanted it all now, and they were too dumb to realize that, what they have now was good enough. There would be people who hated the movie regardless, because it's a very different interpretation of Batman. Some people just don't like Henry Cavill as Superman, so you're not going to please everybody.
But I thought he was better in this Ultimate cut than he was in Man of Steel.
Absolutely. Even Batman too. I mean, even Batman kind of, his motivations are still, again, he reminds me of Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino. He's just a surly, pissed off old man. You know what I mean? And that's it. He doesn't, the whole, he's no longer like this detective. He's no longer, if you cross him, he'll kill you. You know what I mean? He's just old and pissed. And that's our new Batman.
Didn't someone come out with a tally saying he kills 21 people in this movie? And it was like, in all the other Batman films combined, it came out to be like 17 total. But in this movie alone, it's 21. It kind of reminds me of when a new Friday the 13th movie comes out and they go, in this movie, Jason's going to kill 20 people in this one. It's, I mean, could they have made a better, more streamlined movie about Batman fighting Superman? Yes. But this is the story that they decided to tell. This is the story that Warner Brothers signed off on telling. So they should have told the story instead of hacking it to pieces. It reminds me of Daredevil when the director's cut came out, which is a far superior movie, by the way. And the producer says, well, we looked at the director's cut and we thought, well, which is better? Is it better to have a 90-minute awesome, action adventure film where we leave a lot of the story on the cutting room floor and just give you a great theater experience? Or is it better to tell you a 2-hour story that unfolds and engages the audience? Well, we decided to tell that 90-minute cut. And I was like, yeah, and you got what you got for that, because that movie sucks. But if you see the director's cut, you go, oh, Now, this movie would have been successful because it's actually a well-made film. And that's the thing. And I hope Warner Brothers learns from this as opposed to rolling out a crappy version of Suicide Squad and then releasing the director's cut on Blu-ray. I mean, I hope they learn from this as opposed, because if this becomes how they do it, the real fans are just going to stay home and just wait for the digital and Blu-ray.
Yeah, totally.
So,
are there any other director's cuts or extended cuts or assembly cuts or producers cuts that you think are surpass the theatrical version that you wanna discuss?
well, I would say almost all of them. I'm trying to think about. I mean, think about the night and day of Kingdom of Heaven.
I still need to see that. I've not seen that.
Yeah, the director's cut is amazing. The director's cut of Troy is amazing. I mean, that is an amazing film. The theatrical cut was a piece of shit. The director's cut is great.
I've seen the theatrical cut. Wasn't a fan.
Okay. Well, no, because it sucks. Try the director's cut. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing Oliver Stone can do though to those Alexander movies. I don't care how many versions he releases, right? That is a dog, and it's a dog. It's going to be a dog forever. But I mean, like, I was watching this YouTube video of this girl, and she was like collecting movies and stuff like that, and she was like saying, "Yeah, I think I'm the only person on the planet who prefers Peter Jackson's theatrical cuts to Lord of the Rings." And I'm thinking, yeah, you must be the only person, because who the hell wouldn't? If you're going to watch Lord of the Rings, you might as well watch the 5-hour extended cuts.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, and everybody's waiting for the Kill Bill Whole Bloody Affair. I mean, everyone wants to get that on Blu-ray, which seems less likely now that the Miramax sold its whole inventory to Lionsgate. But I dare you to think of a director's cut that's not better. I mean, even something as shitty as Cursed in the unrated director's cut is a better movie than the PG-13 version we got in the theater.
Yeah. Well, and people talk about. I was actually thinking about Cursed the other day, because that to me is the ultimate story of studio interference.
Mm-hmm.
Here you have Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson reteaming, the people that brought you Scream, teaming back up to do a werewolf movie, and we don't have a lot of good werewolf movies out there.
And there's a lot of werewolves in the movie.
Yeah, I was pumped. And then all you heard was reshoots, more reshoots, roles recast, more reshoots. And then you see that cut of the movie, and it is an ungodly mess, because it was shot and reshot and recast and then reshot to the point where I'm sure Wes Craven was just going, please, God, let it end. That movie is horrendous, and that's because the Weinsteins thought that they knew better than everybody else. One of the favorite quotes that most people who've worked with the Weinsteins, I've heard Ben Affleck say this, I've heard several other people say this, that when they watch it, the Weinsteins back in the day, when they would watch a cut of the movie, the question they'd ask, the first question is, will this play in the Midwest? Basically meaning, will the idiots in the Midwest understand? And if they didn't think the idiots in the Midwest, basically everywhere between, California and New York, most of the country wouldn't get it, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. Reshoots, recuts, rewrites.
Yeah. I mean, he's known
so many. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, he's known as Harvey Scissorhands for a reason. I mean, this is the guy who cut out 10 minutes out of Sling Blade for whatever reason. But every time he destroys movies, like Billy Bob Thornton's next movie after that was All the Pretty Horses. I mean, that movie was a 4-hour movie. Apparently it was amazing. And they cut it down to 2 hours. And now it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But I mean, the Weinsteins, though, these are the people responsible for creating and writing The Burning.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're thinking to yourself, going, how it's almost like after Tarantino legitimized them with Reservoir Dogs and then Pulp Fiction, it's almost like they went on a warpath to just win Oscars, and they just trimmed so many movies. I mean, so many filmmakers. I mean, the only people they didn't touch were Tarantino, Rodriguez, and Kevin Smith. Everybody else's films got fucked with.
Yeah.
And so people just didn't want to work with them anymore, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and even back The Burning, I mean, they were little tyrants back then too. Like, I mean, they kicked the director out of the editing room because they thought they knew better. And, so even back then they were still, tyrants.
Well, they even took Peter Jackson's first mainstream film, Heavenly Creatures, and they cut out 7 minutes from that movie. And so for a while, I remember when eBay first was created, there'd be things on there saying Heavenly Creatures, the New Zealand cut, and that ended up being what's now the unrated DVD. But I mean, like they didn't care. They would just, every movie was better 10 minutes shorter, at least.
Right.
So,
well, I mean, they're responsible for one of the most infamous, underground bootlegged movies for 2 decades. Halloween 6, the producer's cut. I mean, they're responsible for that as well. I mean, that's probably the most infamous cut of probably any movie, really. And the one that was just endlessly bootlegged for so many years before it finally saw the light of day.
They even kicked, there's an editor and composer, John Ottman. He usually works with Bryan Singer. He was hired to do the music for Halloween H2O. And he apparently, from what I understand, composed a really great score, but the Weinsteins weren't convinced, and so they threw it out and they just reused Scream, the music from Scream. And that's when you watch H2O, you're like, this is the Scream score. Yeah, it is, because they own that.
So. Yeah, he's interviewed on Halloween 25 Years of Terror, and he talks about that, how he created this big, lavish score, and then at the end of it they just threw in that became the score. So he wasn't happy about that.
No.
And I mean, look at Blade Runner. Look at how many cuts of Blade Runner there are.
Yeah. Well, Ridley Scott sometimes is notorious. I mean, look at Legend. There's 2 cuts of Legend.
Yeah.
There's 2 cuts of Alien. I'm surprised we haven't gotten a director's cut of Prometheus yet, quite frankly.
I'm too. Honestly, I am too. Yep.
But I mean, even The Counselor, his movie that got no love whatsoever, has a director's cut. So I mean, some of those movies don't get director's cuts, and other of them, like Robin Hood, gets a director's cut of all things. So.
Yeah. I skipped that one. I love Ridley Scott. That one just that one didn't look like my kind of thing.
Gladiator 2. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to think of other great like director's cuts or extended cuts.
There's so many. Every one that James Cameron touches is a better movie. Think of The Abyss. Think of T2. Oh, by the way, where is our True Lies Blu-ray that we've been waiting for like years for?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But what are you guys' favorite director's cuts or extended cuts out there? Tweet at me at Pizzal. Let me know in the comment section.
Oh, I'll tell you one of my favorites, Piz. It's not even horror fans are probably going to go crazy, but I know you'll agree with me. I think the extended TV cut of Halloween is better than the theatrical, because I grew up with that version with those. I love that scene when Loomis comes in and sees Michael in the hospital. That to me just it kind of connects the movie more. Whereas now when I watch the theatrical cut, obviously it's a great film, but without that moment in there that John Carpenter himself felt needed to be in that movie when they were doing Halloween 2. It feels like there's always something missing. Like there's a gap now between Michael Myers as a little kid and Loomis sitting in the car with the nurse. I miss that little scene.
I absolutely agree, because that was the version that I grew up with as well. So when I finally rented the movie on VHS, because I was like, I want to see the uncut version, and like that wasn't there, I swear I thought somebody's messed with this tape.
Yeah.
Somebody like, what's going on here? Where's that? Where's the part where he's standing in front of like the doctors in that conference room? Where's that? That's
Where's the door that said sister on the back?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So I absolutely like the television cut of that more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, yes, John Carpenter's movie is a great movie. No one's disagreeing with that. I'm just saying that the version I grew up with, because the TV cut that Anchor Bay put out on DVD, and I think it's also on the Blu-ray set, it's not the TV cut edited and then those scenes. They actually put the entire theatrical cut, but with the television scenes in widescreen too. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. You're not getting a edited version. You're just getting the full movie with the TV scenes included inside.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, let's move on and let's talk about Game of Thrones. We recently had the season 6 finale of Game of Thrones, and we've got 2 seasons left of the show. I don't really get to talk about 13 episodes. Yep. I don't really get to talk about Game of Thrones with many people, because a lot of people I know don't watch it, or if they are watching it, they're way back. You know what I mean? Was like one of my friends on Facebook posted today, like, I'm 3 episodes in and I'm addicted. And I'm thinking, dude, you've got a long way to go.
So before we continue, let's just say, if you're not caught up on Game of Thrones, I think we're going to get into spoiler territory here.
There will be spoilers. There will be spoilers. Yeah. And Cameron and I both, we've only seen the show. We've not read the books, so we're not going to get into that pretentious debate of, well, in the books, Jon Snow. We're sticking straight to the show.
Well, hey, I'm not the only one who's noticed this, so I'm going to throw this out to you. The first 5 seasons, I loved, okay? I loved. But it definitely felt like we are following these beautiful books.
Right.
Season 6 comes out. There's no book. And all of a sudden, that storyline it hits the pedal to the metal, and like there is no take this the wrong way, pretentious like walking around and doing stuff. It just the whole season just felt like a punch to the gut all the way through. Like it just had a forward momentum, because it didn't have to be a slave to a book.
Right. Yeah. They weren't having to honor any previous material. They were carving their own path at this point. But what I thought was interesting about season 6 is, and I kind of feel this way about all the seasons. There's 10 episodes in every season. 3 of them are really freaking good. They remind you of just how good Game of Thrones can be, because it's an episodic show, but it's on HBO, and HBO puts money behind it to give it that huge cinematic feel. So there's always like 3 episodes that are just great. There's 2 episodes that are good, and the rest are just kind of, in my opinion, just kind of meh. Like they're biding their time. They can't give us, they've got to have like the big for me, season 6 didn't really kick into gear until the Hold the Door episode.
Okay.
That blew my freaking mind.
Yeah.
That episode blew my freaking mind. And then we had whatever episode followed it. I mean, of course, it's going to be a letdown, because you just had.
Yeah. Hold the door.
Yeah. Yeah. But episodes 9 and 10. Oh my God, so good. The Battle of the Bastards was awesome. My only qualm with Battle of the Bastards was I thought Bolton. Ramsay Bolton. Not only did I think he deserved a far more graphic death, but he earned it. He earned it. Like, yes, having him fed to his own dogs, perfect. But I mean, they should have shown him being ripped apart. You know what I mean? Eaten alive by those things.
Well, they didn't really give us a really bloody Joffrey death either, you know. So it's like the people we really want to see dead, they don't really like show those in great detail. Honestly, I would have rather had the dog bite his dick off first before than biting his face.
Or imagine like he wakes up, you know, he's in the dog cell and he wakes up and he's like blah 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 blah, you know, blah 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 blah. And Sansa, and he goes, you know, he said something to the effect of, "There's a part of me inside you always."
Right.
She should have said, "I've taken a part of you," and like raised up his cut off dong and showed it to him.
Yeah.
Then she should have thrown it into one of the dog's mouths to just give the dog a taste.
Wait a minute. That's the ending of Hostel 2.
Well, they may have had that idea, and then they were like, "Wait a minute, isn't that how Hostel 2 ends? We can't, you know, no, we don't want to tread on Eli Roth. We don't want anybody out there going, did you see Game of Thrones ripped off Eli Roth?" I mean,
wait, are you talking about Master of Terror, Eli Roth?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
The Master of Terror.
Yeah.
But that would have been awesome.
Well,
I just wanted him to be so like just them like pulling intestines out and him screaming and you know, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, I understand. I'm hoping to God that when he says there's a part of me inside you, I hope to God that's metaphorical and not that Sansa's pregnant.
That is I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think they could go either way with it, because I mean, a part of him is inside. I mean, she's had quite a character arc. I mean, she started as this bratty, bitchy.
I want to be married. I want to be a princess, Dad. Look what she did.
Yeah.
She got her dad decapitated. Yeah. You know, and all that stuff.
Yeah, and as she's watching him being eaten alive, then she's like, "Okay, I've had enough," and she walks away with this smile on her face, which is very Ramsay.
There's that, and then the previous episode ended with Arya walking away towards us with a smile on her face, leaving the faceless men thing. So they're definitely drawing parallels there. One thing that I'm really interested about is now that we know Jon Snow's parentage, and we know that he's part Targaryen, and we know that Daenerys is looking for a husband potentially, or a marriage partner, and Targaryens like to marry their own to keep their blood pure. Could it be that the Mother of Dragons is going to marry Jon Snow, and between the dragons and the King of the North, we are truly going to have a song of ice and fire?
That almost seems too obvious. Seems too obvious. The fan theory is that Tyrion is part Targaryen.
Okay.
That's a fan theory. And the thing about fan theories, and I love fan theories, but the fan theories 9 times out of 10 are so much better than what they come up with on the show. You know what I mean? Like what it actually turns out to be is like, you know. So I try not to read too much into fan theories, because most of the time the fan theories are a lot better. But that's a fan theory, is that he is part.
There's one thing I would have changed about this season. One thing. And that is when Arya is on the bridge and that elderly lady comes up to her and stabs her, and she a couple times, and then she flies off the bridge, and then we get this like long next episode of her being healed by this actress lady, and then all of a sudden, you know, she's stalked by the waif girl again and stuff like that. I'm like, we could have cut out that whole subplot and just from the bridge, go from the bridge, not her getting stabbed, but then going from the bridge to the chase to the end. We didn't need a whole episode in between those two events.
Yeah.
You know, we could have just had that just be a prolonged, chase scene, and that'd be it.
Well, and talk about fan theories. I mean, nobody took that at face value, because how dumb of Arya is it? She knows that she's being tracked by a assassin, a highly skilled assassin who can be anyone. Why is she just wandering around the city and hanging out on the bridge? And, you know, that very dumb on her part. Mm-hmm. And I think ultimately the whole payoff of that was like, this whole many-faced God subplot that she was involved in the end kind of didn't mean, I don't know, it almost seemed like a waste of time. Like it was like they didn't have anything else for her to do. So they just stretched this thing out to the point where it was just razor thin. And,
we won't know. We won't know until it's all over, because maybe it'll come back. But if it doesn't, yes, I agree. There was very little point to having it this long. In fact, we didn't even need to see a long chase between her and the waif. I mean, when Arya goes into that room a few episodes earlier and blows out the candle and is sitting there against the wall, I mean, obviously it made sense that she was waiting to be hunted by this person, and she was more comfortable in the dark because she had been blinded for so long in this season. Maybe it would have been fine just to, in the next episode, have her traveling back there and just showing up with the waif's face. I mean, did we even need to see this long Terminator, chasing down the stairs and Arya just, slipping and sliding down, through the whole city? Yeah. I don't know. But yes, the Battle of the Bastards was great. I was thinking, which one's better, that or the wall siege from the previous season that Neil Marshall directed? Hard
Home.
Yeah. There was that, but then usually episode 9 of Game of Thrones is fantastic, and 10 is like the epilogue that sets us up for the new season. But I'm telling you, 9 and 10, which were both directed by the same guy, who is not on season 7's directorial roster, which means that he must be getting Hollywood offers to not be on that. Because between the Battle of the Bastards and the finale episode, that first 20 minutes of the finale with Cersei getting ready to go to her trial and what eventually happens, that is masterful suspense on the level of like, we have not seen in television in so long, and it's better than most movies.
Yeah. What was great about that finale was nothing shocking happened. Everything that I thought would happen happened, but they did it in such a masterful way. Like, I mean, they hinted. I mean, they basically slapped you in the face. There's dragon fire under the Red Keep. A lot of it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you knew that was coming into play. I mean, you knew eventually they were going to show at the, in this episode, the parentage of Jon Snow. You knew all these things that were going to happen, but they did them so masterfully.
But you know what, though? Yeah. But the thing is, though, but even if it was predictable, it's okay, because we have waited so long for some of these payoffs that to just be paid off in a satisfactory way, even if it was predictable, it was like, oh, thank God they didn't just throw in a monkey wrench in there and just fuck with these characters just to fuck with them. They gave us satisfaction. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, what I loved about that first 20 minutes when everybody got burned up.
What a great shot! There was Jonathan Pryce just being blown to smithereens.
Yeah, what I loved about that was there were so many storylines that just got taken care of just like that. Mm-hmm. So almost going into this next season, you're kind of working with a lot of clean slates. You know what I mean? You've got Cersei in control. I guarantee you what's going to happen. Euron Greyjoy. He's going to find out that Theon and Asha, her name's Asha in the book. It's I forget her name in the show. I don't know why I can remember her name in the book, because I've not read the book. He will find out that she has joined forces with Daenerys. So he will join forces with Cersei. And now here's something from the book. He has a horn that can control dragons.
Okay.
Because it looks too perfect. How can anyone stop Daenerys? She's got this huge fleet. She's got this enormous army. She's got 3 bloody dragons. She can't be stopped. It's just too predictable. She's just going to go with.
However, the prophecy said that Cersei would lose her kids and be killed
Mhm.
by her younger brother. She
Yes.
always assumed that would be Tyrion. However, Jaime Lannister is 7 seconds younger than her, so he's
He
gonna
will
take her out.
he will definitely kill her. It will get
Yeah.
to the point where he took out the Mad King.
Mm-hmm.
She will become the Mad Queen, and he will have to take her out too.
And he's gonna end up with Bryn. You think?
That would be the storybook ending. I don't think they'll go that route, maybe, but that would be the storybook ending. I think that would be the ultimate redemption of Jaime Lannister. Because if you remember where he started in the first season, he was a pure villain. He's had such a great story arc. I think that would be the ultimate redemption for him, is him having to take out his own sister because
now Daenerys said in one of these episodes that our fathers did things, a terrible way. We are going to do it the new way. We are going to change the way things are done. Is it possible that at the end of this series, and make no mistake, we are going to the end of the series, even though they say there's 2 more seasons, it's 13 episodes total. So we're going to the end here. Is it possible that nobody gets the throne at the end and they just destroy it, and that Daenerys just says, you know what, fuck this, fuck rulers, fuck kings and queens, everybody is free? She got rid of all the slaves in that one city. What if she just frees the entire world of Game of Thrones from any ruler? It's very possible.
Very possible. Yeah, I agree.
Because that's the whole thing, is who's going to sit on this throne? What if they just, take it out? There's nobody runs it.
Yeah. At what point do all these people who are vying for the throne, at what point do they go, is it really, do we really want it that bad? You know what I mean? Screw it.
Now, if it ends with, I always thought, if Arya ended up being crowned at the end, I would have loved it. But I'm curious. I think what's going to happen, I think Arya and Sansa are going to end up where they started it off. I think those 2 sisters are going to be running Winterfell. I think that's where we're heading.
What I see happening with Sansa is that Littlefinger will turn her against Jon Snow. Littlefinger is going to get in there. I love Littlefinger. Littlefinger and what's the bald dude's name? Varys.
Yeah.
They're 2 of my favorite characters on the show because they're just totally conniving, and you know what I mean. They're just like 2 steps ahead of everybody on that.
So
show.
Take Daenerys, just getting rid of the throne altogether. Let's play, where you are percentage wise. If someone was to be the ruler at the end of this series, what's your percentage that it could be Littlefinger at the end who takes over the throne? That's what he's been wanting.
Well, the show is called Game of Thrones,
right?
And he is definitely playing the Game of Thrones. Right. And
could it be him and Sansa as king and queen?
I don't know. I mean, I doubt it, but he's playing.
But see, to me, that would be an ending, but not really. It would be an ending, but a beginning to a whole other set of horribleness to happen. But them getting rid of the throne would be the end of a story. I mean,
right. Well, I mean, we've got the whole. What I like about the fact that there's going to be fewer episodes. Hopefully, there'll be longer episodes, and it'll be less filler, more killer in each one, because they've got a lot to wrap up in 13 episodes. They've got to wrap up. Jon Snow has to find out who his parents are. Mm-hmm. There's the whole Azor Ahai prophecy that he's most likely Azor Ahai too. You've got, the war for the throne. But then once that war's fought, what about the war against the
White Walkers?
The White Walkers. And who's going to be left to fight that war? Mm-hmm. Or will that war collide with the throne wars?
Well, that reminds me of Hamlet. I don't know if you remember that story or not, but at the end of Hamlet, there's an invading army heading towards the kingdom the whole time. And Hamlet is dealing with, the treachery of his stepfather and his mom and blah, 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 blah. And everyone's dead at the end. Okay. And then the invading army comes in and it's like, oh, they're dead. Okay. Well, we take over anyway. So, I mean, I always think that that's what's happening is we're mixed in with all this dramatic stuff with all these people's lives, but it all means nothing because the dead are coming.
Yeah. 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 I don't know. I'm really looking forward to next season because, like I said, I think they took out a lot of needless storylines. I think with that whole Citadel burning, I was tired of the Faith Militant. I was tired of, I was tired of Tommen.
But they blew up Marjorie. And I was wanting to know what she was going to be doing.
Yeah, exactly. I was wanting to know kind of what her game was, but it clearly,
well, because she slipped that note. She slipped that note to her grandmother. So,
and I think that'll go to show that that'll make her even more angry because she hadn't truly lost her granddaughter. Her granddaughter was playing a game to get out of it, and then she died.
Kind of like Scientology.
So yeah, I think there's a lot to look forward to. I'm really looking forward to anything that happens with the White Walkers. I love like that Heart Home episode from season 5. Oh my God, one of the best Game of Thrones episodes I've ever seen.
Neil Marshall directed it, and
yeah. I mean, when the Night's King raised his arms, like, come at me, bro, in all the dead rows, I was just like, oh my God, yes. I mean, so yeah, I'm looking forward to the resolution of that whole thing. And at this point, they don't have to pay tribute or to follow or to really honor any kind of material except their own. Well, I think that's kind of interesting. They can either totally screw it up or they can really make it great, I think.
So far, it looks like they're heading or sticking the landing, which is great. And everybody I thought was fantastic this season, as they usually are. But I got to tell you, the MVP of this whole season is, the Starks needed you, but you didn't answer the call. That little 10-year-old girl in 2 scenes in this season just wiped the floor with these people.
Yeah, she was awesome. When in that last episode where she was like, "You didn't answer the call," and she had that very thick, like, Scottish accent. You didn't answer the call. You didn't answer the call. Right. She's a badass.
And
What's funny though is next season when she comes back, she'll be totally unrecognizable, like the Brand kid. Like he grew 5 feet over the course of 1 season. Yeah. So I mean, she'll be totally unrecognizable next season.
Well, it's my understanding that this series is taking place over years, as opposed to just like a couple months. But I would like to know where you said his name was Varys, right? The bald-headed guy.
Yeah.
I want to know who his travel agent is for him to be able to get to Dorne and then back to the boat. At the end, the final episode, because he got to the other side of the world and back in like 5 minutes.
They do a lot of. That's one of the complaints with the show I've heard is that people get around really quickly.
I don't understand why he was on the boat. I mean, they could have just left him in Dorne. The only reason why I think they brought him back to the boat is because he told Tyrion that if I don't come back, you'll know I failed.
Yeah.
So I think that's the only reason. But it was so close together, those 2 scenes, that it was just like, how the hell did he get back? Did she send the dragon to bring him back? I don't know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a fantastic show. And if HBO was smart, which apparently they are, but I'm hoping that they do for this season what they did for the last 2 seasons, which is in sometime before the new season starts, they released the last 2 episodes in IMAX at the movie theaters. And I think the Battle of the Bastards and the final episode would play fantastic at an IMAX theater.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that show is cinematic.
Definitely. One other interesting fan theory is that Varys is a Targaryen too, but he keeps this under wraps because he shaves his head.
So
you can't see, the blonde hair.
That would be cool.
That would be very cool to see, especially those last two episodes on like the big screen. Because the Battle of the Bastards was cinema quality. I mean, that was better than a lot of big action sequences, those sort of sword fights, kind of sequences. It was so good. It was so well made.
And because these characters have been branched out for seasons now, where Arya and Sansa don't even know they're still alive to each other. What's really shocking is after 6 seasons, if you go back and just pop in that first episode of season 1, it's shocking because it's all these characters that we followed for years, all in Winterfell, the same location. And you're like, oh my God. And it almost just moves you because you're like, wow, they don't realize that this is one of the last moments they're all going to be together before they're just splintered off for the next 10 years of their life.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But one thing we'd be remiss if we didn't mention was Arya scratching, was it 3 names off of her list? In the last episode, you had the Frey pies sequence. Yeah. She baked the sons into that Frey guy's pie and made him eat it. Oh my God.
The Titus Andronicus reference. This is very Shakespearean. I did not think it was Arya, mostly because I didn't think that she could have gotten there that fast. But I was so happy that she was there, and and she slit his neck just like he ordered them to do to her mom, and her brother. So that was fantastic. I mean, I know we haven't read the books, but one thing that I'm shocked, but also relieved too, that they never put in from the books is apparently the wife, Catelyn Stark, after she is killed, Catelyn Stark comes back in the books as a White Walker.
Yes. Well, she's her character is called Lady Stoneheart. And she's like I don't think they refer to her necessarily as a White Walker, but she is she's like a zombie.
Right.
And she is out for blood. Like I kept hoping that this season, because they were back in the Riverlands, because they had the Brotherhood without banners. Mm-hmm. That maybe they'd bring her back. Like they keep, like fans, like they've got petitions out.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have Jaime and
she's pivotal in getting in the books Jaime and Brienne together, and actually she sends Brienne to kill Jaime in the books. Okay. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, though, is we have Jaime and Brienne together. We got that this season again. So I'm thinking this next season, in order to make just fans of the show incredibly happy, we're gonna have another moment where Arya meets the Hound.
Yes.
It may be predictable, but we all want it to happen. Like her running from somebody and she runs right into him and he's got his axe.
Yeah.
But I wonder if she'll kill him too, because she said that she was going to kill him as well.
He's on her list.
Yeah.
He's on her list.
Right. So, and I thought that was a really great. I know a lot of people maybe poo-pooed it, but I thought it was kind of interesting to see the Hound at sort of that kind of that quiet little village that talked about peace and stuff. And of course they had Ian McShane from Deadwood saying all this. And then when they hung him, spoiler alert, and then the Hound just like grabbed the axe. He's just like, it's like, yes, you totally understand why he would make that switch again, because he got taken in and he was listening to them about turning the other cheek and going on with your life. And then he realized that was just not the world he was living in. And just, it totally made sense. And it was fantastic.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, a lot to look forward to on Game of Thrones, and it's it's winding down.
But that shot, though, I have to just say that shot of the young king just out the window.
Yeah,
great. It was a beautiful shot, And I was like trying to think, why is that hitting me in a certain level? And I don't really know why. It dawned on me that the beginning of this show was a little boy falling out the window as well when Bran got
Mhm.
pushed by Jamie. So the way it's
Yeah.
just all kind of like, just rhyming with itself. It's kind of fun.
I actually said to my girl, I was watching the finale with my girlfriend, and there was that part where he's staring out the window, like, watching the city burn. And I was
Yeah.
like, I was like, God, I'm so tired of him. I wish he'd just jump out the window. And then 5 minutes later, he did, and I was like, called it.
But it was great and it was well done.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's see if we've got anything going on. I've totally neglected to look at any kind of comments or anything. Oh, looks like Cole was watching tonight. I think Cole wanted to join us tonight. Sorry, Cole, I didn't see your messages. Next time, buddy. Next time. Are you caught up on Game of Thrones, Cole? Because I think you were watching at one point. I know you were watching at one point. Sorry I missed you though, dude. Let's see what else is going on. Lucky Grub messages us through Facebook. He says, I think we kind of answered that question of what we think about them adding the line about Batman taking Lex to Arkham Asylum in the Ultimate Edition. It's pretty cool. And do we think that's going to lead over into Suicide Squad any? Do you expect to see Lex Luthor in Suicide Squad?
That's the rumor that he's there. The other rumor going around is because we see Batman on top of the Joker's car with Harley Quinn, that this is going to perhaps indicate or show what happened to Robin, and this is how the Joker got caught for Batman to take Robin's outfit that says "the joke's on you, ha ha ha" in that glass case that he has in his house.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking
the theory is that in this universe, Robin is the Joker, or Robin became the Joker.
That would be interesting. I know a lot of people kind of poo-poo that, but I don't know. It's just one more little twist, So if that was to happen, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I know Cole would be jumping out of his screen right now.
Yeah. I think we mentioned that on the Batman v Superman show we did for the Sausage Factory, and he wasn't jabbing with that idea at all.
I'll say this to Cole. Cole, if you ever see the Ultimate Edition, which I doubt you will, but if you do, I know you're still going to hate it, okay? But I'm just saying that it works better as a movie, even if you hate it. It just because there's more connective tissue to it. So, but it doesn't mean you're still not going to like it, I'm sure.
Exactly. Speaking of the Sausage Factory, John Ice wants to know what's in store for the Sausage Factory in season 5. You'll have to wait and see, man. It'll be here. Actually, it'll be here before you know it. We always take the summers off, but we reconvene. We can reconvene in the fall, right around Halloween, late September, early October. So that's when we'll be back. But what do we have in store? Just more, as Orc would say, epic Gozu ponage. So you've got epic Gozu ponage to look forward to.
Yes,
next season of the Sausage.
Be sure to look forward to the retrospective episode of on Mole Better Blues and Jungle Fever. I'm sure that will be a big one.
Great movies, both great movies.
Nothing like a bunch of white guys sitting around talking about Spike Lee.
I like Spike Lee. I like most of Spike Lee's movies. So.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm just saying, we killed on the internet in the PC culture.
Would be interesting. Yes. Well, any closing thoughts on any of the topics that we discussed tonight, Cameron?
I'm fascinated by this Halloween news. I'm scared about any Friday the 13th news, and I'm thanking God every day that we don't hear anything about another Nightmare on Elm Street being made. So I'm a huge horror fan. Want to see these movies do well, but I wish I wish it was kind of back in the days before the internet. I wish that it would just kind of come out like, oh, there's another Halloween movie coming out. Oh, and John Carpenter was involved. It was be like, oh, fantastic, as opposed to, this person sneezed in the studio, and now we get 10,000 articles written about on the internet that plague our Facebook feed. I don't want to know about every step of development. I just want to see a trailer and have the movie come out. I think this idea of having the fans involved with every aspect of it sometimes kills a movie before they even start making it.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Yep.
But it's still fun to talk about.
Yeah. I think in closing, if you're on the fence about Batman v Superman, check out the extended version. It's a better cut of the film. It's worth your time. I think, as I said, it did not feel like a 3-hour movie to me. And if you're not watching Game of Thrones, we've pretty much spoiled everything for you. So congratulations. But if you're not watching Game of Thrones, you should be watching Game of Thrones, because you're missing out on some great.
And HBO proudly says that Game of Thrones is the most illegally downloaded show in the history of television. So if you don't pirate the show, get on your friend or your parents' HBO Go account and start watching it. It's fantastic.
There you go. All right. Well, we will call it a night. Thanks so much for everybody who tuned in. And we'll be back, I'm sure, before too long with Vlogcast number 6. Yeah. So, yeah. Thanks again for tuning in. We appreciate it. Thanks, Cameron, for joining me tonight. Again, sorry, Cole. I missed your message on Twitter, but we'll definitely we'll grab you next time, because everybody loves them some Cole. So, but yeah. Anyway, you guys have a great night. We'll see you next time. Take it easy. Peace.
Take care.